RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. We are live for a Monday midday edition of the RTD Live Talk, the People's Talk Show. Excited to connect. Looking forward to finding out what's on your radar. And then also hearing from you guys. When the phone lines open up, 313-462-0027 is the number to call and let your voice be heard. And if we have any new viewers or any returning viewers that want to get a quick shout out, let me know where you're watching from via the chat. I would love to acknowledge your presence. And thank you for being a part of the community. And so this week could be the moment of truth or the week of truth, as we have so many executive orders being signed right now, as well as Truth Social, launched today on Apple and having some problems already, but yet we'll see what's going on. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Let's talk about relevant news happening globally. So let me check in via chat real quick, go through a couple headlines, share my 2 cents on some things, and then open the phone lines and hear from you guys directly. And so let me start at the very top. We got Julian B checking in. Says, Ukraine good or bad for Bitcoin? That's the question. That is a great question. My very first idea or thought that came to mind is that at this current moment, Bitcoin and all the other inflationary style investment opportunities are definitely going to take a major dip. But then ultimately, the response to the global contagion that will follow will probably be very favorable in nominal terms. So at this current moment, Bitcoin is definitely going to head down a lot lower, in my opinion, just because unless there's a new stimulus package of some sort or some type of monetary response from the central banks, I don't really see it getting that much of a boost, taking it towards 100,000 right now, in my personal opinion. But curious to hear what else you guys think. We got Jesse James checking in, LBP checking in. We got Ingles para trabajaros migrantes, if I'm not saying that incorrectly. It says, I didn't get notified as Mike going live. Yeah, so once again, algorithms might work, might not work. I'm going to try to stick to 4 p.m. as best I can for the mid-streams, live streams moving forward. But anyway, for those tuning in, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Hopefully more people are notified and more people can join the party. We got James checking in, LBP. We got Faith. We got Paul from Eugene. We got Daryl. We got JoJo. We got Creo, the Traveler from FEMA Region 5. We got James. Yes, it Ryan. We got DK. We got Keenan checking in from ATL. We got Mr. Shane checking in on Facebook. Appreciate you. We got Mr. G, the recycling guy. We got, who else? We got Only Lord Knows checking in. Appreciate you, man. JP, Mark checking in as well. So once again, appreciate you guys taking time to bless me with your presence. Looking forward to finding out what's happening in your neck of the woods, and as well as getting your thoughts on what's going on. We got the Fat Vegan checking in as well. All right, let's jump into some headlines, man. So, running a little bit behind just because I had to put together a little artwork last minute. Just because, we got today's President's Day, for whatever that's worth. And we got Putin here signing some executive orders, creating some 2 new nations for the most part. And then we got Trump dropping the Truth Social today and on Apple. Curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. And then, of course, we got this week the crypto executive order that's due out sometime soon, on top of the current executive order just passed within the last couple of minutes or expected to be signed in the last couple of minutes in response to Russia. So a lot of things happening, a lot of pen activity this week, as well as gold and silver still attempting to break free of the manipulation, because it's becoming harder and harder for the papers game to continue to divert people's attention from the true essence of money when it comes to sound money, precious metals. So we're going to have some fun with that. I'm sure it's going to break out any moment. But anyway, let's jump into a couple headlines here and keep it moving. So I couldn't help but talk about this because outside of the initial response from the Western media, I even typed in Russian or Putin executive order on YouTube, and literally, like, there's only one video that popped up. And of course, this would typically be some type of breaking news, because the creation or the acknowledgement or recognition of 2 new nations in the midst of all this Russian-Ukraine debacle is pretty significant news. But to my awareness, that the algorithms here on YouTube don't want that to get out. So, but it's worthwhile talking about, because we're going to find out the response from the West as far as sanctions, and then we'll see what else they try to pile on top of that, because by them recognizing these two nations, or regions rather, as nations, and giving them the same respect that any other nation should have, that's going to make it very hard for the U.S. to continue to push that uh, narrative of Russia's trying to, invade, because those two regions there are welcoming Russian help in the future. So once again, we're going to find out how this plays out, but definitely worth touching on. But it says Russia's Putin recognizes the sovereignty of two separatist Ukrainian regions. And of course, there's more to the story than we all know, apart from people who actually probably live in that region or do business in that region, to where you got firsthand knowledge. But take it for what it's worth. It says here the President Putin announced plans to recognize the sovereignty of two breakaway areas in Ukraine and the Donbass region on Monday, today. The two breakaway states, it's funny how they say breakaway states. Is it perhaps the fact that those nations or those regions there are heavily Russian already, and majority of the people more so associated with, recognize themselves with their Eastern partners, i.e. Russia, to where they always consider themselves Russian living in Ukraine, perhaps. But it's just interesting to see how they say breakaway areas. And so it says here, the Donetsk People's Republic and the I'm probably going to butcher this 100%. Luhansk People's Republic, let me know if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, areas controlled by the pro-Russian separatists. So once again, play on words, separatist, breakaway states. That's the Western spin on things, but I imagine information coming out from the East over there mentions nothing of that magnitude, but it is what it is. And so once again, I think this is a curveball that was thrown at the shadow government / globalists in regards to them, not actually probably willing to respond militarily on the Western's aggression by surrounding them with NATO bases and NATO troops and things like that, but him actually doing something different. So once again, as I always mentioned, Putin appears to be playing chess while the West continues to play checkers. And he's just always seems to be one step ahead, strategically seeming to outdo those that are opposing his, control in that region. So something worthwhile there. But I'm curious to see and hear what you guys think. I think this is just another pivot away from the mainstream narrative that probably caught the West off guard. And so we'll keep moving. And I got more thoughts to share on it, but in the meantime, I want to make sure I get everybody's thoughts on this. But it says Biden responds with sanctions. So they've been sanctioning Russia since I don't know how long now. And on top of the sanctions, I think the recent push for utilizing digital assets in Russia comes at the right time for them, because Putin wants digital assets to be utilized more so, as I said before, to benefit and to go around these sanctions, because it still allows them to have a payment mechanism to do business with other nations. But then the central bank of Russia seems to be not too convinced. So it looks like the finance minister and the central bank of Russia are not seeing eye to eye on how this is going to play out. But I imagine with these new sanctions possibly thrown the Russians' way, that it might be easier for those two entities in Russia to get on board and to approve digital assets as well as all the other stuff for their own sake, nevertheless their own people. So just something worth keeping an eye on. But as it says here, because of the breakaway nations, once again, our key word, breakaway, okay, nations, there are going to be more sanctions. So once again, removing access to the payment networks and things like that, and probably sanctioning a couple of key Ukrainians in that region, things like that. But yeah, not surprising whatsoever. And then let me get to a couple more stories here. Let me get to this one here. So this is that story I want to talk about in regards to how they're responding with the digital asset space. But it says Russia's Ministry of Finance submits the Bitcoin bill proposal. So as of today, or within the last couple of hours or so, that bill that was thrown out there last week has become official, because it's moved forward to the right people's hands. So we'll see how they respond to this. But as I mentioned, it's probably very likely that this get passed so that Russia can once again try to one up the U.S. when it comes to recognizing the digital asset space as basically a way around the dollar, because ultimately all this is about the current global monetary structure and how the dollar has ran its course. And nations are moving away, and Russia, of course, they are already, in my opinion, already have some backup plans and options. And to show you how the dollar has become more of a threat than a benefit to them, here's an interesting graph here that I want to show. Let me grab it real quick. That pretty much highlights activity over the last several months in response to the threat of sanctions. So this is from Luke Groman, but it says it's just a visual aid showing the Russian official holdings of U.S. Treasuries versus gold from 2008 to 2018, and he's talking about the interesting divergence. And so, as you can see, they were well aware and prepared for this well before now, in reference to how they would treat what is considered their reserves. And so, here you have in the blue, over the last several years, close to a decade plus, the Russian Federation have been weaning themselves off of the dollar denominated debt from the West. And that gold line there is basically showing Russia getting their weight up at the same time. So basically dumping dollars or redeeming dollars to more than likely buy gold, which of course nobody knows the true figures that they're sitting on. But it's one thing, they don't want to be stuck holding the bag. So they're heading out of the dollar denominated debt instruments. So just something we all can learn from. And so that's just an interesting visual aid I wanted to bring to your attention. And then on another note, let's definitely touch on. So this week is going to be a big week. It's going to be I would say more of a moment, a week of truth. And this is in reference to the executive order that's due sometime this week. And my initial thought was I would expect the executive order to come immediately following Trump's announcement of the Truth Social, just because we don't want 79 million, 80 million people out there running towards a new website, i.e., as the mainstream love to use those Trumpers or those truthers, or those people, as where a lot of us are categorized as people who just want to be left alone and want to speak truth and want to not be censored everywhere we go. And you know how that goes. But anyway, and so now that this Biden executive order, on top of the one he's just about to sign in regards to Russia, I'm thinking that's a little bit of a curveball. So I imagine they're scrambling right now. And of course, as I always mention, Biden is just a front person or a puppet. His advisory team do this field with, I think his biggest advisor, financial, if I'm not mistaken, I did this, talked about this a couple months ago, but Larry Fink from BlackRock, his presence in the White House is the strongest it's ever been. It was very strong under Trump as well, and definitely Obama and all the way through. They all get together. They all are part of the same club. But Larry Fink, I'd imagine, and Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Obama and all them people, they still got a hand on what's going on. So no doubt, whatever this executive order entails, it will be very beneficial for the financial institutions, i.e. the banks, and very more of a burden for your average retail investor as far as the amount of information they will require and the restrictions that they're going to put on your average Joe from being able to go in and actually buy from exchanges without having to do an extra burden of proof to show that you're not using it for any type of money laundering, tax evasion, or funding terrorism. And mind you, the threshold on what a terrorist is mighty loose these days. And due to the whole censorship, as well as the Department of Homeland Security saying that people who threaten confidence in the government might be considered, on the naughty list. But anyway, here's also something else. I think this is not going to play out well for the average retail investor. And this is from the Department of Justice in reference to them announcing the first director of the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. So just the creation of the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team is another government agency on top of all the other bodies that have been created. And whenever, some stuff like this is rolled out, it never plays out in the average person's favor. It just never does. And so just the fact they're having all these regulatory bodies created, it's not for the banks. It's not to keep an eye on exchanges, to the sense where it's going to hurt the uber wealthy. It's designed to hurt the small fry, the average person who just want to participate and, pump their bags along the way. These are the people that's going to fall under scrutiny. So, but the creation of a whole new department never ends well. And then here's the last one here. It says Deputy Attorney General Lisa Mcconnell announces the National Currency Crypto Enforcement Team. So she's probably going to be heading it up. I would imagine. I don't know. I didn't validate this, but I wouldn't be surprised if her roots go back towards, the World Economic Forum or something of that magnitude. So just something to be aware of. And then a couple more here. Let me just touch on them real quick. We couldn't go without touching on Truth Social. And so I was very surprised that we made it to this point, because I remember, I think it was the end of last year, talking about how, time will tell. We got at that point, it's about 60 days before this whole Truth Social will be launched. And as of today on Apple, it is available. I'm wondering if anybody out there who was able to download it, and what's your response on that. But as of now, it looks like there's an overwhelming demand to get on, to where apparently their servers can't handle the load. So it's not actually up and running right now. But will the world run to this? And is it actually something valid that people can actually communicate on back and forth without being censored? It's too early to tell. But I'd imagine I wouldn't hold my breath thinking that this is going to be that way to communicate freely without being censored. Because if this turns out to be a truly non-cooperative fintech project where they're not able to track, trace, and do all the surveillance type stuff, then something is going to happen. It won't be very funny. It won't be very pleasant, in my personal opinion. But anyway, a couple more stories here, and then I'll stop ranting, open the phone lines. And so over the weekend, we were told that, or as of last week, that the Federal Reserve, all of a sudden, in response to their insider trading and all the illegal activity done on their end, basically front running everything because they have inside information, that they've come out and basically barred themselves from being able to participate in the financial markets. It says the Fed declared that trading in cryptocurrencies, foreign exchanges, and commodities would also be prohibited, along with the short selling securities. And so it says the Fed clarified that those that work for them, it doesn't really mean their spouses couldn't, or their financial advisor. I'm not quite sure, but I'd imagine a lot of these people have separate entities, or private companies or something that they have them, that they're associated with, that would allow them to do such. So, but once again, I didn't know the Fed was openly trading cryptocurrencies. That's something new to me, but doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Anywhere they can turn a couple dollars and make a profit, I'm sure they're involved in that. But why now, at the end of this current monetary shenanigans that they're playing? So yeah, just the stuff to make you wonder. And then if it's not one thing, it's another. Here's an interesting headline itself: America's power grid is increasingly unreliable. And I wonder, why would it be so increasingly unreliable? Is it due to the climate change, or is it due to the fact that there's a lot of exercises on cybersecurity out there? This might be one of the focal points. But just the headline itself is worth bringing to everybody's attention, because it's only so many warnings and heads up they can give us before people start taking this stuff serious, before something happens. So, but it says, behind a rising number of outages are new stresses on the system caused by aging power lines, a changing climate, and power plant fleet rapidly going green. So yeah, but anyway, that's what's happening on the news front there. But executive order this week is going to be a moment of clarity on a lot of things, because we're going to find out how let me see how much further down that the war drums beating will the U.S. and Western forces look to do on Russia, now that Russia's declared 2 nation states. And we'll see if China also validates that, as well as surrounding countries is not NATO related, whether they condone that as well. We'll see. And so anyway, let's talk. Let's open the phone lines. Let me hear from you guys. Of course, I have more thoughts. I can rant forever, but I want to hear from you guys directly. So feel free to give me a call. Let me know your thoughts, or whatever other subject matter that might be relevant and important to you. I'm curious to hear what it is. So feel free to let me know. Then also in the chat, highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. It'll stand out, and I'll try to share my 2 cents on it and go from there. All right, so let me see. I do see a question here from Rolf. I'm not sure if this is just a back and forth in the chat or what, but it says, how much has Fed lifted interest rates now? I think that's more of a joke than anything else. Yeah, so that's a whole nother can of worms. We got probably maybe 3 weeks before the next Fed meeting, and we'll find out what that attempt at a interest rate will be. Will it be a quarter? Will it be 0.5%, or what? But yeah, at this point, they'll never be able to get it above their own rate of inflation, or CPI. So it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Let me see here. Only Lord knows says, what do you say here? It says, I'm a call Mike Maloney, and the second you should do a show with Mike Maloney, Rethinking a Dollar. Only Lord knows. Yeah, I've reached out to Mike Maloney a couple times, but I never really got a response, and some people on his team never really got back with me. So I'm not going to go chasing down somebody, because at this current moment, everybody who's plugged in to alternative media channels, we all know what time it is. So Not too many people are really out here saying anything really new or anything really game changing, because it all boils back to the fact is either you got your weight up, you get your calories up, you get your toiletries up, you get all that stuff up, or when and if stuff hits the fan, you're going to be on the outside looking in, and that's the last place I'm sure you want to be. Let's keep it moving. All right, let me see here. Climate change is a new. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. And on another note, I see a lot of talk about Canada. So it looks like the blockades have died down somewhat in certain regions, but the Emergencies Act is staying in place. And according to Trudeau during his little speech, he was saying that the goal is to not remove it too soon. Want to make sure everything stabilizes, but it's tricky because whenever governments roll stuff out, they usually have a hard time rolling it back in, and so the Emergency Act favors them rather than the people. So I could see if that's not continue to be pressed upon, where people and just the people of Canada in general don't continue to make a fuss about that, it'll just fly under the radar, and then we're on to the next event, next to the next crisis of some kind, and then they already have everything in place to whereas it'll be nothing new at that point. But anyway, just my 2 cents. All right, it says Rolf says USSA could invade Canada for its oil. Yeah. I mean, at this current moment, we know that no matter what, fear is always the first go-to for the orchestrators of this entire experience, just because, as they've said before, you never let a good crisis go to waste. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, Ron Emanuel under the Obama regime. And so the more crises, the better, because they then are able to come in with the solutions. You know how that goes. Let me see here. It says 0% interest rate false. Let me see. We got says 0% false, 100% interest rate. It's a loan. The whole thing is a loan. War on gold, 100% building a wall on the real border, DC. Yeah, I saw some pictures showing that, I guess, and that's the thing, over the last couple months, the whole wall situation around the capital area in DC hasn't even been talked about much. But I've seen some reports that they're starting to prepare for the convoy that's making its way across the U.S. So we'll see how that plays out. But let's get to some calls. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, Beaman Region 9.
Steve, how you doing, my friend?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, man.
Hey, I sent 3 videos to you. They're all three different, all involving the insurance companies.
Yeah.
And the jab, etc. If you can go ahead and post those to the community, because I'm not in that thing there, in the queue there. But that being said, Mike, is the flea market a beautiful thing?
Yes, it is, man. So yeah, I want to thank you for that generous gift there, man. I was extremely overwhelmed. That was a load for man. Well,
hey, just trying to tell people, please, I'm begging people, please go get that stuff while you can. Those windows will close at some point.
Yeah.
You're sort of like the ivermectin, same type deal.
Yeah.
Get this stuff while it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
That stuff, Mike, that stuff was pennies on the dollar.
I don't doubt it, man. I'm thinking like my wife. She was like, "Whoa, we're gonna do with this." I'm like, "Well, we got enough for a couple years, so we'll be good in that department."
Yeah. That stuff was penny on the dollar.
Yeah,
but it's all good. But anyway, for the most part, those 3 videos talk about the insurance mess. Dealing with the jab.
Yeah.
'Cause I forgot which one of those 3, but one of them talk about how they're going to start declining the policies.
Yeah.
Yeah, how they're going to start declining the policies, basically saying you took an experimental thing, so you committed suicide. We don't pay out for that.
Right. Yeah. I saw that there's a case. I think I read about that a while ago. There's a case in France where it's actually before the courts now, or was before the courts at that point, where a millionaire guy, whatever, passed away, family trying to collect insurance policy, and because they were overwhelmed, they were like, sorry, he didn't have to take that, he did it on his own, like, type of thing, and they did consider it a suicide. So yeah, I'm sure more companies will jump on board with that save themselves a couple dollars.
Yeah, and there's a case here in the U.S. too that I guess it went through about 3 weeks ago. I forgot which video it's in, but all three of those videos touch on the insurance part of this. So basically, everybody who has those insurance policies that took those jabs, they may have to rethink
what
they did.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to keep you on here, bro. Hey, enjoy, and please, everybody, go out and get these things cheap while you can, because those windows are going to close. And same with the ivermectin.
Yeah.
Get out and get that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait till you get sick to go get the ivermectin.
For sure. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Take care, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff, man. Appreciate the love, Steve. So, man, got, it was a whole lot of stuff, man. I appreciate that. Definitely love there. All right, let's keep it moving. Feel free to highlight a topic or a subject and we'll touch on it. And I see a lot of talk about XRP out there. So we got a lot of XRP lovers out there. And I know what's funny is I noticed just from the responses from the last little XRP video, a lot of new, crypto, individuals, share their 2 cents on it. And, one thing I realized, the emotion behind certain projects, as if people have gone all in and the projects can do no wrong. They are 100% right. And because they got it early, they accumulated a lot and they're convinced that they're going to do extremely well come high rise or tide or whatever. Like it's big, it's that approach that is baked into the cake that if I have this, particular coin, I'm going to do fine. And that's the part where it's like, I just think that it can be dangerous because it's software, it's computer code. Like I just don't, I can see how it can be exciting because it offers promise, because the technology is here, is not going nowhere. It's a part of our future, it's baked into the cake for sure. But my only thing is when it comes to those XRP, Stellar, Algorand, all the ISO 20022, like those projects were created for the primary focus of helping the World Economic Forum and all of those entities further advance their agendas for humanity. And I just find it hard to believe that those projects at their core was created for your average retail investor to be able to join in with the party and benefit along with, the other individuals that's looking to further digitally enslave us. It's like something have to give. And I'd imagine when it boils down to it, the consensus of those algorithms are more than likely to change. I will be willing to, I'm not a betting man, but I will be willing to I would feel more comfortable anticipating the overall consensus of how those algorithms will run on the blockchain, so especially for those centrally controlled projects where where their head office is, who the founders are, who their development team is by name, because they're plastered across the TVs promoting how disruptive this is. Do you actually think, that is a major counterparty risk right there. That just shows you how centrally controlled all those projects are. And to think the banks are going to win and you're going to win at the same time, that's to me, that's just a risk. But I can be 100% wrong. I hope I am wrong. But I just feel more comfortable taking a skeptical approach where I look at it more as a Trojan horse rather than like something that's going to save humanity altogether. Like, I just me. But anyway, I'm ranting too much. Give me a call. Let's talk. Curious to hear what else. And, for those that are technically savvy, the code, you actually examine the code from block to block, what's going on. Hey, feel free to give me a call and educate me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm here. I'm here to learn. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Oh, this is Aaron from Memphis, Tennessee.
Aaron, what's going on, my friend? Give me a quick thought.
Quick thought. Revelation 16:16.
Okay. Give it to me.
In Revelation 16:16, it's talking about the war that Ukraine is with Russia. That's the war between Gog and Magog. Do your research.
All right. I will do that, man. Appreciate you for dropping that nugget on us.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yep.
Have a good day.
For sure.
God bless.
Same to you. All right. Appreciate that. We got Mr. Mario in the building. How you doing, my friend? Get your weight up 100%. Hope all is well with you. All right, man, let's keep moving. So yeah, once again, I just, I feel like I want to share that I'm all in on having those tough discussions. Like, just we can talk this through, and I'm curious to hear all angles. Somebody can point me to some sources where it shows something completely different than what I'm saying to prove me wrong. Please bring it my way. I'm that's how I learn. And so if we got any crypto experts out there, feel free to holler at me. I'm okay to learn. But just once again, I just imagine, we're not in this current digital transformation space by accident. This was part of their plan well before we all realized that there was a such thing as, Bitcoin and things like that. So Lucky says, David Schwartz owns the patented technology, so the banks have no choice to adopt. He wrote the program to be decentralized. Okay, that's a possibility. And so once again, I'm assuming you're referring to XRP because I heard that we got some community members, well versed on this. Mentioned David Schwartz, patent a couple other things as well. So, but also we got the Reggie Middleton patent out there as well. So we'll see how those patents line up if they don't or whatever. But as far as making the technology for the banks, they have no choice but to adopt it. That's fine, but I don't think it's going to be the same ledger, the same exact blockchain in a sense that the average retail investor has when it comes to XRP. Just because let me see here. So XRP has already helped a couple nations begin the process of creating their central bank digital currencies. And it's good to say that those aren't the same ledgers that they are building on that you have the coins to in your wallet. So they're completely different. Probably might be the same protocol, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to be the same one. And that's what my thing is. Like the central bank's versions in their estimation, based upon all the funds that they're going to put in to develop it, will have a greater chance of succeeding because the average Joe will be forced to use it within different countries rather than the decentralized version that people currently have in their wallets right now, whether, off the chain, cold storage, never been touched, yada, yada, yada. I just think they're going to change the consensus at the end of the day to cause more harm than good. I don't see XRP and CBDCs being able to thrive in the same environment. Or come this upcoming Biden regulation going to make it very difficult and burdensome for your average Joe to be able to benefit from it. That's just my opinion. But here's a little title. It says, Ripple touts role for XRP in the central bank digital currencies white paper. The crypto asset could be used as a neutral bridge between different currencies, Ripple says. So, yeah, we will find out. We will find out. But I can be proven wrong. I'm okay with that. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's definitely check in on the metal space just because the kryptonite to the monetary system happens to be true weight in the form of metals. And as of right now, let me see here what's going on. We're in the green right now. It's not too bad. 23.97 for silver, 19.04 for gold. 19.04 for gold. 19 just seems like a very large number in comparison to where it's been for the last decade. But yet they're trying to definitely make sure it doesn't go beyond that 19 or never less 2000. So yeah, but hopefully you guys are awake and aware and plugged in and in the things that you definitely want to be in the long run. Chad says, get your weight up. Where do you want to be living when stuff hits the fan? Yeah. Vince Grant says, low blood pressure is a secret holder. I'm assuming you're referring to the crypto space. Let's keep it moving. We got, let me see. I saw something here. It says basically replacing Swift with on-demand system, unlocking all the locked liquidity in Nostra Vostra. Yeah. So based upon all those are a lot of pros right there for the overall monetary system, like, neutral bridges, making instant settlements in different currencies without having to go back into fiat. That sounds all fine and good, but that's a major selling point that the central banks are using in the midst of trying to create their own central bank digital currencies. Like, it's the whole interoperability factor of being able to connect different currencies around the world at the same time with no remittance of payments and all that technical stuff. Right. That plays right into their hands to execute their agenda of trying to continue to monopolize currencies, and it all draws us one step closer to that unfortunate outcome of where all this is taking us, and it's towards that one world currency. Like, there will be no one world currency without blockchain. So blockchain primary usage is to get us towards that point. And especially when it's centrally controlled, and we know the creators of it, and we know that all the nodes for XRP are probably owned by the too big to fail banks and their, their financial institutions that are associated with them. I don't think too many Joes that are especially tuning in right now, if you actually own or run an XRP node yourself. Could be wrong, but that'll just be my guess. XRP currency, it says, question RTD, where did you get the info on XRP to conclusion XRP retail investors will be screwed over? That is just my hypothesis, XRP currency. And I state that from the fact that at this current moment, just based upon all the information that's provided, and I love to reference, the Economist cover, basically saying that at this current moment that we will be getting prepared for a world currency, which very well could be XRP. And my only concern and my what makes me critical of it is the fact that people are not as concerned or cautious about the agenda that's being put forth and along with their own special interests in benefiting off of this transition, i.e. thinking that doing things on the blockchain is going to free them when in actuality, especially on a publicly visible ledger, that's more of a surveillance style approach, which favors the people that's trying to orchestrate this transition to the digital world. So it's just my concern is that people are too excited about crypto because they've gotten away from and been, not been educated and taught enough and encouraged to solidify your weight first. It would be my opinion before you do anything else on top. When you're comfortable with your weight, or you actually use all those proceeds and gains that you've gotten to do real world things. If you dip and dabble in the software realm and in the metaverse, sure, knock yourself out. But more people are banking on the digital space in its entirety as if it's a shoe-in, like it's a guaranteed thing. And that's where I'm like, I'm more of a skeptic. That's all. So I actually look for ways to try to poke holes in these narratives as to how crypto is going to be the next best thing, especially this coin here. And I think, as I titled this video, this is the moment of truth. This week, with this Biden executive order, we're going to find out, how much of a real threat the cryptocurrency space is, or how much it plays along into their agenda, because ultimately they don't want any backdoors out of this current system. And it's amazing how, other than gold and silver being silenced from the mainstream narrative, as well as the continuous paper crackdown on it, it hasn't really shown its true nature of being a true inflationary hedge, which lets me know we got a lot of room to go, because they don't want people to find out about gold and silver, because that's literally something that you can have on your own possession, and there's zero counterparty risk, at all. So anyway, that's just my little rant. Taylor Webb says, can we get our weight up with your silver rounds? Definitely, 100%. It's silver. It's 395 silver, and of course, it's not going to zero. So, any round, any coin that has real, true metal inside of it will be worth something, because it's real and people needed to do stuff with. Let's keep it moving. Anyway, give me a call. So XRP currency, feel free to call in, man. I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts. Please shine some light on it to help me better understand. I could definitely be. I'm not an XRP enthusiast, so I'm probably speaking from more of the hater side of things than I am a enthusiast about the whole ordeal. Let me see. Vince McGog says the Gog Magog war is entering the sphere. Yeah, and so when it comes to the Gog and Magog, that's the nation, to my knowledge, the nations of Russia and China. And they definitely will play a role, to my knowledge, as we move towards the end. And I think that's, heading into the Battle of Armageddon. So that's, in my personal opinion, we got a lot of things to check off before we get to that point. So, but I get where that's going. Lucky says, between JP Morgan attempting to replicate XRP with their JPM coin, and from what I understand, they were successful. Definitely, but I think the JPM coin, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was done on a forked version of Ethereum, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Don't sleep on copper. 39 is fine. 100%. That is true. Mark says, what is the purpose for the notch in the new American Eagle silver and gold coins? That is a great question, Mark, and I do not know. And so some people out there, I guess in the, what is it, the Nasera, Jacera, or the quantum financial system, the people who are, heavily promoting that, I'm sure they can give you a great reason as to why that is. But once again, I'm not holding my breath waiting on Trump to come back into the office and free humanity and give us a gold back, silver back currency. I'm not going down that road. But yeah, I don't know what that notch is for. I'm sure we're going to find out, but not too much of a outright obvious new security feature to me, but it is what it is. Hello, caller. What's your name? We calling from?
Hello, Mike. This is Crypto Queen again. Latanya.
How you doing, Latanya?
Calling in.
What's going on? Give me a quick
doing
thought.
great.
Doing well. Appreciate the call.
Again, yeah, I'm calling about XRP.
Okay. Give
me some. I do have some reservations about if XRP price-wise will be the high ticket price that many people are predicting. Bitcoin will be the national global currency that's decentralized. This means it's not controlled by central banks. But when you have a technology like XRP that will be controlled by central banks, we know in 1930s what happened when people own gold. When it's for central banks usage, it's usually not allowed in the people's hands, or it is somewhat suppressed in its pricing. After they collected gold from citizens, and then the price of gold was increased greatly. So I know that XRP will be that central bank digital currency, not necessarily the national currency, but it will be that technology that central banks will use to bypass commercial banks. And I've always told people, unless there is, I can really see stacking silver to get gold, because silver is both monetary and industrial use. It's going to be used for 5G Wi-Fi. It's going to be used for RFID chips. It's going to be used for Tesla. When all of this currency system happens. But unless gold is peer-to-peer again for your essential foods and groceries, I don't really see the need as far as having gold tangibly, because that price is still manipulated and can't be suppressed by our government. And what happens when you cash it in, and if it's converted back into CBDC, and then you're highly taxed on it?
Right. And those are all probable situations that, once again, because everything we're facing is new, there's no right or wrong. We don't know how it would play out, but it's just more so, how can you minimize the risk that is for sure coming? And that's where it's like holding something real that you can feel puts you in a better position to be able to start off at ground zero. Mind you, once the banking situation, cyber, whatever's planned and coming, it's going to force a lot of people to go back to zero. Meaning that when you look on your screen, it may say error, or your app may not open up, i.e., what's happening with having accounts frozen and things like that. So at that moment, if the internet's still operational fully the way it is, you might be able to use your cryptos for whatever. But then at the end of the day, you'll have something in your hand that you can feel, that you can use somehow, some way. And of course, it's going to require the human mind to continue to innovate and create, because most of us here never know what it's like to actually have to go out and barter, hand to hand, shake hands, go get what we want, make what we want, live without having instant, we can Uber something or dash something at your house type of thing. So it's going to be a awakening period for all of us. But I think once all this blows through, having something real that you are able to call your own for whatever that's worth will put you in a better position than having something with so many, counterparty risks in between, like so many other people you got to depend upon. That's just a risk. Because in my personal opinion, when everything hits the fan, all contracts, all obligations, all that stuff is going to be wiped away as well, because they're all dead instruments in a sense. So yeah, it's just more so, how comfortable would you be starting over at zero? What would starting over at zero look like for you in a world that we have never seen before? You know what I'm saying? So that's just my little rant.
I agree, and I just tell people to be cautious of owning something that our central banks will use as technology. You never know which way that way will go.
Right, 100%. Hey, appreciate you calling. Thanks for your thoughts. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff, man. Once again, just trying to make sense of everything, and that's all. Try to make sense of everything and be realistic. Like, and here's the biggest thing: I am not a hater of technology. The idea that software is capable of reinventing money or reinventing currency, or software is able, like, software as a service, like able to just do anything in real time with just a software will take over the world, no doubt. But here's the thing. Is only going to be as effective and as useful to the average Joe in accordance to the people who wrote the code. And a lot of these projects here, especially in the crypto space, they won't be around. Most of them will be flushed out because they're just more so scams, don't offer no real world use case. But there's a lot of software protocols that are written that will be disruptive. Now, of course, everybody got their favorites or whatever. But once again, it always goes back to, will it be allowed to flourish in an environment where the evil ones that are at work right now told you that you'll own nothing and be happy with it. Like, so imagine the worst case scenario. What does it mean, and how will they execute that plan of you'll own nothing? That was something I think more people should be spending time focusing on, because think about how that lets me know that there will be no rule of law, there will be no respect of property, there will be no maybe no social order whatsoever, like type of environment to where people would literally be happy just to have something of the bare minimum of something at their disposal. That's how bad things could get in the way they're structuring all this. And that, to me, that plays perfectly into the fact that, if we can convince people to fall in love with computer code, that makes it easier for us that, when the Trojan horse is exposed, they're going to miss out, but yet they won't have anything real because they've put all their life into computer code and owning things that, we were a part of the people who wrote the original code, solving the Byzantine double fork spin problem. You know what I'm saying? So those are all things that just concerns me. And I think if more people should spend more time trying to prove all this crypto stuff wrong than looking at the crypto space as if it's going to be their savior, because it's not, hands down. That's just, that's just me. So anyway, that's a lot of ranting in one. XRP Curve said Ripple has over 100 contracts with big banks all over the world. XRP will be the world reserve currency, which will be tied to gold. XRP. So based upon that statement there, like tied to gold, that is definitely a possibility. But I wouldn't hang all my hopes on this statement, because where do you feel it? Where do you fit into that? Where do we fit into that? Do we fit in on the fact that, and I think, you fit in better by reassuring yourself by holding a little weight, because at the end of the statement you said tied to gold. That means all this blockchain stuff is going back to real stuff in a form of gold, and you can't not include silver. And so that means you're going to try to front run this trade by getting heavy on XRP in hopes of them not changing the algorithm along the way. Because my biggest concern will be if they end up using, or the bridges they're going to build. I can imagine if they can build the bridges, they can take away the bridges that allow people access on and off ramps to certain exchanges or certain wallets, or, mind you, the people who wrote the code control the blockchain. So I would imagine if you get 100 contracts with big banks, mind you, all this we're experiencing now is about protecting and making sure the too big to fail banks don't lose it all. And so I would imagine it's easy to get 100 CEO executives from the big banks in one room, have David Schwartz come in and all the XRP team come in and sit down and have a Davos type meeting and say, okay, now it's time for us to, unwind some of these bridges that you've created, because we just want to mainly focus this chain on using it for the central banks and the big banks, because the bridges are for the commercial banks and the central banks. I doubt the third or fourth bridge is going to be for the average retail investor. That's just me. So I could be wrong, but that's risky, man. That's just really, really risky. Drew B. Fisher said XRP is open source. No doubt. Bitcoin is open source. But once the BTC, and just like with Kirk Warwick I had on the show, the BTC we have now is not the BTC that was created in 2009. It's just the consensus and all the stuff that has not been allowed to grow. on BTC has completely changed BTC. So it's open source as well, but a lot of the underlying operational side of things have changed significantly because people are not using it for peer-to-peer. And this is well before the Lightning MasterCard's funding of the Lightning network came about to allow people to make micropayments. Like if the original BTC would have stayed its course and developed on track the way that it was probably destined to do, without all the other, the Roger Veers, the Craig Wrights, and all these people coming in and basically, taking the blockchain itself to their own interest and expanding it and doing all types of things to it, and that's open source. So long story short, we all know that, Bitcoin was not designed to be gold. It was designed to be used peer-to-peer in real world transactions amongst everybody. Now people like Michael Saylor are using it as gold, where it's going to sit and he's not going to ever do anything with it for 100 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that was the original purpose of Bitcoin, but look at where we're at now. So that lets me know that, XRP is open source. It's, to build bridges for the world, but will it remain the same as we move forward in this decade? And that's where I'm like, just be realistic. Just be willing to say with any coin is computer code. It can be easily manipulated somehow, some way, because if it's open source and publicly visible from beginning to end, this regulatory framework gonna crack down on it, or the people who are running the code behind and controlling the nodes and all that stuff like that, they can come to consensus once they're pressured by governments that it's time to change some things. So yeah, anyway, but I'm enough ranting on that. I could be wrong, but be willing to have those discussions. Let's just be willing to have those discussions moving forward. And I think we'll all be happy. XRP currency. No, I am not holding XRP. And so to be truthfully honest, I was aware of Ripple back in 2013, 2012, 13, I think it was. Yeah, 13, 14. Yeah. No, earlier. I think so. XRP, I was aware of it ahead of time, and well before XRP had its own actual wallet to store it. I think it was the Ripple network or whatever it was called at that point. They had one of their own websites where you had to kind of store it on their website. And so as I started to learn more about it, realizing that it was primarily going to be utilized to help the banks, the whole idea of what attracted me to crypto at the beginning time period was, we don't need banks. We don't need permission. It's permissionless. But now I'm thinking well, you got all these protocols and all these projects now waiting on permission from the government. So I'm like, oh, that defeats the purpose of, taking back your financial sovereignty in your own hands. So I'm like, well, I'd rather just stick with gold and silver because, every ounce that I purchase at this current moment is in my hands or somewhere where I can get to if need be. I feel more comfortable with that. But then again, I'm no fool, not realizing that all the currency that's going to be created in the next coming months and years will flow into that. So, you'd be fool not to also have some of that as well. But, if it doesn't go to the moon, I'm not mad. That's just me. It says, problem is, how do I travel? How do I travel with gold and silver bars from country to country? Great question. And the probability of you being able to travel with gold and silver, with gold, you could probably get away with, a couple of small ounces, but with silver, it's not likely. So that's one thing that's not really possible at this current moment. Of course, they're going to have, cryptocurrencies backed by gold, silver, and for the future, you probably can use. But ideally, I would say also along with that, depending on how things shape out in the near and long-term future, will you actually be able to travel freely without having to participate in certain experiments and have certain identifications, which will restrict your overall freedom in the first place. So I think we'll have a lot of other problems along with just being able to travel with gold and silver. So that's just my opinion. Stephen, great question, says, do you think war is going to break out in Ukraine? Great question. And so I start off by talking about how it just always appears that Putin and everything that happens in our region is always one step ahead. And so I would imagine nobody foresaw him declaring those two regions as actual nations in themselves and giving them respect of nations. Now we'll see who follows on. But that right there, it further slows down that war drum narrative, because Putin, in my opinion, won't be there'll be no military aggression towards those two regions, which I'm assuming is just the first step and probably moving further, west into Ukraine. But as of right now, it looks like he's doing everything to avoid a conflict because he said there'll be no winners, especially if NATO gets in. And that's why I think the West, i.e. our shadow government, is itching for some excuse for something to jump off. Just like today, there's reports saying that some Ukrainian somebody or another, a couple people were killed, trespassing into Russian territory. That right there, if that is true, could be that event that the West could use to say, Ukrainians were killed, we are going in, type of thing. So I know that the West wants a war. So I think Putin is strategically trying his best to be one step ahead because he plays chess, the world plays checkers, it seems, to try to avoid that. So I think if he can prolong this, if Russia can prolong this and not actually be the reason why, make it obvious they're the reason why there's no need for a war, it puts the West in a very bad position because we're trickling into the whole Fed tightening, which is going to be a problem. There's already liquidity problems, volatility in the markets on a day-to-day basis. So the entire world is waiting on some news of some kind so that the central banks can respond the way that we know they're going to once something gives. So right now it's like more so, I think Putin wants to be patient, and the West themselves, we're going to fold on ourselves because we're the ones that are in need of something to use as a catalyst for more stimulus, more injection of fake currency. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, let's get this call. We made this the last one and keep it moving. Hello, caller. Where we calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure. Home alone with 6 kids going crazy, Mike.
Home alone with 6 kids. What's up, LBP?
Not much, Mike. Look at all these world leaders. You got Trudeau, you got Macron, you got Brandon, you got who am I leaving out? Bumbling, Boris Johnson. Bumbling idiots, Mike. Nobody's even clown show.
100%, man. It doesn't surprise you whatsoever, man. What else is going on, man? How's those kids?
Oh my God, Mike! I'm taking care of them by myself. My wife stepped out. I'm going nuts. I'm losing my hair, Mike.
Oh man, yeah, buddy, you got your hands full, no doubt.
Hey, it's my own fault, Mike. hey, look, Mike. Yeah. Look, it's starting to sound like the show's turning into the XRP-a-thon or something.
Hey, I enjoy it, man. That's because I get to learn, and so that makes me want to dig deeper down the XRP rabbit hole to find out what's really going on. Because I'm not married to it. I'm open to understanding it, but yet once again, just be leery, man. That's my thing, is be open, not be. So many people are emotionally attached to projects that it's amazing. Like, I think that's the problem, in my opinion. I'm not emotionally attached to silver and gold. It's just a tool. Like, that's just me. Anyway.
You got to be careful, Mike. Some people, they start being curious and then they don't come back from it, Mike.
No doubt. And mind you, over the last couple of weeks, I've been going down rabbit holes that have really opened up my mind to seeing things in a new light in many facets. So I'm well down too many rabbit holes right now, my friend. And I can admit, ain't no coming back.
All right, Mike.
Appreciate you,
taking
man.
my call. Love the show.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Bye.
Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike.
Hey there.
Hey, remember the 1985 Economist magazine?
Yeah, I put it up all the time. You talk about the Phoenix, the Rise of the Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that resemble Stellar Coin, SLM?
Yeah, I've talked about that before. Yeah, so a lot of people say it is Stellar, yada yada yada. So yeah, I've talked about that.
Hey, Mike, you probably hit the donkey on the butt when you said that, because they're choosing the ones that they want.
Mm-hmm.
See, and there's other coins out there at Wall Street that are deep in, like Dash.
Yeah,
they're deep in the Dash. They're deep into Quant. Quant is a coin that everybody should have in their portfolio, because most of these coins that you're looking at, they're already chosen by the bank.
Yeah.
Some of them they're looking at. Some of them, just like when they found out everybody got on the XRP,
yeah,
and they cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a decentralized coin. That coin is for the banks.
Yeah.
The banks have never wanted to issue that out. That's why they did what they did. And all it is smoke and mirrors with XRP. I mean, one day it might go up. I mean, who's waiting on that?
Yeah. Good point. So yeah, it's that's the thing. Like, this is a lot of different protocols, but it's all software, and believe me, it's going to be used for a reason. And I'd imagine all the developers, they're more interested in being approved by governments and central banks than they are with actually their individual shareholders, i.e. their bag holders at this current moment, because the people who wrote the code, they face more of a pushback from governments with their progress of their projects than anything else, to where they'll be willing to, I'm sure, change the algorithm consensus and all that stuff if need be, so that they're able to stay alive, because they're fighting for their life as well. They want their project to win, and so they're competing against other projects. So you better believe, you get a knock on your door from one of these regulatory bodies, they'll be willing to talk.
Well, I'm going to give you a little information. I'm not going to talk too much about this. I want you to do research on Quant.
Okay.
QNT.
Will do.
Who's behind that operation is a former J.P. Morgan banker and Oracle. They're behind that whole operation.
Yeah.
There's not many in circulation. They don't want people to buy it.
Right.
They might come after me just for not bringing this up. But
appreciate
I don't care about it. I fear nobody but God. But
all right. So I see it's an ERC20 token running on Ethereum blockchain.
Yes. And look how many in circulation.
We got 12 million as of now. Max supply is 14.6 million. So that's definitely by having a smaller market cap, it's capped at 14. The Fed keeps printing. That coin can easily go through the roof, just like a lot of other projects as well. But it's all subject to, either the institutional money coming in, or the Federal Reserve, when things hit the fan, them coming up with a couple extra trillions. But at that point, all projects going to be looking good. So, but then after everything unwinds, we'll see who's still around as far as actually being utilized. Use case is going to be the most important thing, in my opinion.
Institutional money has already been in these crypto spaces. They're the one who's doing the manipulation.
Yeah, no doubt. I believe.
The best thing to do out here, if you're investing, don't be in one asset. Like me, I'm in the cryptos, I'm in the gold, silver, and I'm out in the art.
Yeah.
Anything but this dollar.
Yeah.
This dollar is on its deathbed. Matter of fact, it's on a respiratory system right now, and they keep resuscitating.
Yeah.
But,
100%, man. But hey, man,
I'm at work right now, Mike. Man, I listen to you all the time, man. Sometimes I can't call you.
Yeah.
But once I get in, man, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Keep your eye on XLM and Quant.
Will do, man.
Because Oracle is behind Quant, and one of the former CEOs of Quant is a ex J.P. Morgan banker. See?
Okay. Well, I'll do my research, man. I'll check it out. I appreciate you. That's how I learned. So thanks for sharing the information, man.
At the end of 2022, that coin is gonna probably do over $1,000. My projection.
I'm gonna hold you to that one. Give us a call back in, then we'll see where we at. Appreciate you, man.
Okay,
Be good. All right, people. As always, it's good to connect. Good to go back and forth, and hopefully, I'm hoping I stirred up some emotions out there. Hopefully, some people are, more so like, questioning some things. That's what it's about. Believe nothing, question everything until you can prove it for yourself. So anyway, man, I just enjoy having a chance to go back and forth, share my 2 cents. Could be wrong, could be right. We're going to find out. But once again, in the meantime, what's real, what you can hold and feel. And in the meantime, it's all spiritual. It's all a spiritual warfare in the first place. So make sure before you do anything in the natural world, get your spiritual game right with the good Lord himself. And then, of course, build upon that, because what does it profit you to gain the whole world but lose your soul? You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you need your health and your spiritual game in tight, and everything else, it'll fall into place, man. But anyway, be blessed, be safe. Back at it again tomorrow. And what I want to give you guys an opportunity to do, definitely invite a friend, tell people to come join us. Go reach out to some crypto experts, have them come in and just, chew me up. I'm about that. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I'm a big boy. And let's just try to get more people plugged in, get them questioning things right now. Right now is the best time to question everything, because as we move forward this year, as stuff unfolds, it's going to be hard because we may not be able to, A, to communicate, and two, there'll be so much information out there really bombarding people to where you won't know what's up from down. But anyway, that's all she wrote. Be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day, your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%, follow up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is to connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.